had no idea that she had this in her tissues. All the issues are in the tissues. We had a woman, she thought she was allergic to our oil, and she had like boils on her face. And so we were like, okay, stop using the oil, actually stop using the blaster, like let's just ride this out, drink a lot of water. 3 days later, she popped the boils and shards of glass came out. She had been in a car accident as a child. Fascia is the only thing that's sticky. Things are literally getting stuck in there. Toxins, plastic, preservatives in the food, all of that stuff.
If you've ever dealt with chronic illness, painful tension patterns that get triggered when stressed, or more common things we just resign ourselves to, like cellulite and TMJ, this episode will change how you think about healing. Ashley Black, best-selling inventor and passionate fascia advocate, discovered that the secret to healing lies in revitalizing our fascia, the connective tissue touching every muscle, joint, and cell. She's here to explain what fascia is, why it is not only the key to healing, but longevity too, and how to keep it healthy. We also have a lot of fun oscillating between wild woo-woo theories and the science that actually grounds them. I hope you love this combo as much as I did. In one word, how would you describe fascia?
Quantum.
Most surprising thing fascia does for our health?
Electrifies our health.
One daily habit that keeps your fascia happy?
Well, I have to say FasciaBlasting.
Yeah. True or false? Fascia holds on to emotions.
100%.
If fascia had a superpower, what would it be?
Communication.
One thing you wish every woman knew about fascia and longevity?
They're inseparable. You cannot have healthy cells without healthy fascia, which means you cannot have longevity.
Boom. All right. So let's get into fascia. How did you get into fascia, Miss Ashley?
I mean, I'm going to just say it was God. We'll start with that out of the gate. When I was 28, I had a near-death experience where I got this insane bone infection. It ate my pelvis and my hip, and then it spread into my cerebral fluid. It gave me a stroke, and I died. So I went to heaven, whatever you believe, a different realm, up through the floors of the hospital, and was, knocking on the pearly gates, and was told that I had to go back, that I had something very important to do, and I would be given the knowledge when the time was right.
How did I not know this about you?
Isn't that crazy? And I remember being stuffed back in my body, being like, no, this is horrible. Like, I don't want to be in this meat suit. So that was the genesis. But the real way that I discovered fascia was just trying to heal myself. I had 2 small babies, and I'm crippled. And, what do you do? So I went through traditional medicine, wanting a surgery, or, they basically at that time, it's a long time ago, they gave me pain meds and said, sorry, we don't know. I actually moved to China for a little while to experience, alternative medicine. And they kind of got to the point where they were like, okay, this is all we can do. And that's when I had that first intuitive flex that was like, okay, if I'm going to figure out how to heal myself, I need to see what's in the body. Because I was an athlete growing up. I was a gymnast, always was like working in health clubs and things like that. I understood strength. And so I wanted to see what was inside, basically the hip and the knee and the kind of upper back, because it was like anybody who's out there that's injured knows that it kind of becomes like a black hole in your body. So I had this really crazy limp, and, I was like, I'm going to have to figure something out. Like, you seek enough experts, and then you go, okay, well, shit.
There's some missing information.
Right,
I need
there's
to solve
missing
it
information.
to gain my life back.
Took a dissection class, snuck into Texas Chiropractic College, don't tell anybody. And they opened the body. When you see a body, it's almost half fascia. And they said, we're just going to remove the fascia. First time I heard the word, we're going to remove the fascia so that we can look at the structures. And they just started cutting through it. And there was something inside of my body that was like, this isn't here for no reason. And that kicked off, an entire, I'm going to call it an obsession. And here I am, 53 years old, and I'm still obsessed.
You look great, and I'm glad you're obsessed, because I do feel like it's kind of mainstream knowledge now, but it's still unclear. I mean, anybody in like the fitness world, it's still really muscle centric.
Yes.
And so I would love for you to just break it down. What is the difference between fascia and muscle?
So, I mean, I think to give a visual is the easiest, and then we can dive deeper if you want into the function, because I really feel like there's structure and function, just like our heart or our brain, right? So the structure of it is just like when we eat ribs or chicken or something, and when you go to pull the meat off the bone or you pull the meat apart, we see this cobweb type material, and that is the fascia of the muscles of those animals, right? And everybody that's taken basic anatomy has kind of seen what muscle fibers look like, right? It's like when I teach, I use like red straws with the wrapper, because literally that web is not random. It is a circle around each and every muscle fiber. So when people talk about muscle, you can't, there is no such thing as a muscle by itself. It's muscle and fascia. So hopefully the vernacular will move in the direction of myofascial tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's just one type of fascia, or in one place in the body.
Okay, what's the other type?
So this is another thing that you'll find if you go to study it, is that we have all these crazy code words for fascia. Anything that's called a sheath, connective tissue, extracellular matrix, meninges, arachnoid matter. It was basically like when we named the structures of the body, no one thought about fascia. And it was like we came in on the back end and we're like, oh, that looks like a spider web. We'll call it arachnoid matter, right? So that's the first thing when you start learning this, is you have to learn all of those code words. But the way that I describe fascia and the 5 types within it is basically if we were a body of Jell-O, right? And just like we stick fruit in Jell-O, or at least we do in the South, that's basically the way it works. It's like a body with a brain, a heart, the nerves, the lymphatic system, but it's all completely surrounded by Jell-O. Fascia, Jell-O. I always say, what do you think is in there? Air? Blank space? No. It's literally everything that's not a physical other structure is some type of fascia. And the types, it doesn't really matter what we call them. It basically just goes from thick to pretty much liquid. So it has different states, just like water does.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's a big part of why it's been difficult to identify it. And then the biggest reason it's difficult to identify is because when a body is alive, which is not usually how we study them, the fascia is actually in sacred geometry. It's like a honeycomb. And when we're anesthetized or when we're dead, it drops flat and dries. So
anytime they're cutting into your body, it's going to be flat dead.
That's right. That's right.
We can't see it in that beautiful honeycomb sacred
that
geometry
honeycomb,
form.
liquid crystalline, liquid reflective light. It's unbelievable. There's a old video. It's almost 15 years old now, by this French doctor, Giamberto, and it's called Strolling Beneath the Skin. And he was the first one. I mean, this is even after I started studying it, to be like, hey, guess what, people? It's very different when it's alive. And for me, it's just so crazy to think about consciousness. Everybody's interested in what it is. We really haven't defined it, but we may know where it is. Because if you're anesthetized and it goes flat and kind of goes dead, it doesn't happen to our brain. It doesn't happen to our heart. Our muscles don't collapse when we're unconscious. So that's kind of the direction that I've been lately, is often
so your hypothesis,
woo-woo land.
Yes, I love it. Your hypothesis is that the consciousness or the quantum or it travels through the fascia. The fascia holds.
That's what I think. I think that even in the courses that I teach, I'll put a picture of the quantum web, a picture of fascia, and a picture of the mycelium. And I'll be like, which one's which? Because they look very similar. So, and aside from that, when we talk about the quantum web or mycelium, it's really the energy, not so much that like the pipes connect. So I do feel like there is this universal connection inside of our body to the universe and the earth. And I think that's where it lives.
So you snuck into the Texas Chiropractic Dissection class. You got this hit that like, oh, the answer, the link, the missing piece is in this fascia that they're just cutting away to get to the other structures. What then? How did you heal yourself?
So I think, back then I was very much not in how fascia functioned, but more like where the physical structure was located and how I could repair it. And so just learning that, like in dissection, we go from the top down to the bottom, but there's an amazing um, school of thought called anatomy trains, and they say basically you cut more like a cake, right? So you cut it in the long layers. And as soon as I started understanding that there was literal connective tissue, like literally connected in these long strips, it was like, oh, well, if I want to create space in the hip, I can't just address the hip. We need to create space in the bottom of the foot and up the leg and where these lines of fascia go up to the brow. And then, that for me was where I started experimenting with kitchen tools, drumsticks, because you have that sort of intuition. Like even when you were talking about your shoulder when I first got here, it's like you fantasize like, oh, I just wish somebody could pull my arm over to next week. So that's kind of what I started doing was, some weird, Frankenstein version of, trying to create space.
Yeah. So that's, I guess, how FasciaBlaster was born.
Oh my gosh, it was such a longer process, but I'll give you the chunks of it. So the first thing I had to do was heal myself. And so through kitchen tools, hands, by that point, I started doing some acupuncture and I started to understand that we were all talking about the same thing. The people who were talking about the meridians in Chinese medicine, we're talking about nadis in yoga and, all this traditional stuff like myofascial triggers and things that are a little more Western. I was like, we're all tracking the same thing, right? So I basically made it so simple. I opened my tissue and then I strengthened the tissue. And that really is all that you have to do in the orthopedic lane. You got to remodel that tissue so that it functions and then make yourself strong. So that's what happened first. Then a chiropractor who was working on me in my little Texas town, he was like, excuse me, why are you walking, basically? And he's like, do it to me. I want to understand. And he was like, Ashley, nobody's doing this. And he's like, I want you to work on my athletes. And he was the chiropractor for like a lot of pro athletes. And this was in Texas at the time that the Texans started a franchise. Mm-hmm. I got one football player. And this is like 3 months into my career of making this up, right? He put my card in every single locker. And from there, I just started teaching other people the methods and ended up with 7 clinics, 72 practitioners. And what we realized is that the fascia work is tiring, particularly on an NFL, NBA, like these massive guys. And we were like, we need to invent something or of course, we tried to find stuff that could open the tissue so that we could do kind of like a sports massage. And it started with knuckles, but that's exhausting. And so we were like, man, we need something like this, but with leverage. And that's where the FasciaBlaster came from.
So cool.
It was just necessity breeds invention.
Yeah. Yeah. And near-death experiences and divine intuition downloads. But I just love it because I feel like it's the proof is in the pudding. You healed yourself. Chiropractor had you do it. He was like, boom, this is kind of the missing link. And it started working on athletes. And like, so, if someone looks you up, there may still be some like residual negativity on like someone trying to cancel you or some.
Oh, yeah.
Which, people doing, that happens to a lot of people I know in this healing
Don't
world,
do something
right?
big.
Yeah. But you're just following the breadcrumbs and like really wanting to help
Absolutely.
people.
For me, I felt like I was America's little sweetheart. I was like, I have figured out how to remodel this tissue. I've invented a tool that people can use on themselves. And then, you sell a couple of $1 million, nobody cares. Sell $40 million, go on the Today Show, do a TED Talk and start making noise. And, that's when it happens. And I don't think it's personal. I think that either competitors or the institution, they know the process. It's basically like you go to the IRS and, everybody in the family gets a notice that they're being audited. You invent a bunch of fake trollers online, and then they pick up, angry people, and then it just becomes this echo chamber. And then lawsuits, that's the kind of stuff that happens. And at first it was like, what is happening? Like, we need to study this. Like, you think it's real.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you continue to go through it, you go, oh, this is an attack. And for me, definitely I went through a period where I was like, this is so unfair and all of that. But once you survive something like that, you go, wow, like, I'm at the big show. And it kind of becomes something that fuels you. It's like, yeah, you didn't get me.
Yeah.
Not only didn't get me, it's not so much about that. It's that the science did not slow. And, even it's so crazy when we look at fascia as a Google word. I always am looking at the trends, like the Google ranking, because it tells you what people are interested in. And the Google score was like 20 something in 2010. And then in 2017, which was when the FasciaBlaster really peaked, it was 100. Mm-hmm. And now it's in the 90s. But like, hey, we did it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about the whole thing.
Yeah, you affected that trend. That's amazing. So what is, you said the science didn't slow. What is the research saying that you're seeing about fascia?
It's so great because at first I felt like I was the only person on the planet that cared. But actually, there's a lot of people out there studying it. And I had the pleasure last week of being at the Global Fascia Congress. And so it was very academic. I got to meet people that I had, studied. I got to lecture with them. And it's so interesting because they are very much into what is fascia? How does it work? Like, what is its role in lipedema? How does it affect sports performance? And everything that they're doing is great. But for me, I've had to go, okay, well, who am I in this puzzle, right? Am I the scientist? I don't think so. I'm the product developer. So when I can take what they have learned in science and what I have learned in science and then design the products to piggyback the research, I'm happy. I'm happy with that. And what the science is showing is basically all good and no risk. You know what I mean? Like, fascia is because it's quantum, it's constantly talking to itself. So if we give it an environment to heal and remodel, it will. So, we're seeing if you palpate the fascia a certain way, it releases stem cells out of the stem cell reservoirs. That's not my research, it's someone else's. We're seeing that if you do 10 to 15 minutes of fascia work pre-performance, that we're getting 28 times the muscle output,
Wow.
And then in my own research, we were like, let's send it. Let's just look at everything. So we had a basic protocol of people using my tools on themselves, 15 to 20 minutes on their legs, 3 to 5 times a week. And then we just looked at everything. And what we saw was that tissue remodeling, which, by the way, that's the ultimate thing. Like, once tissue remodels back to native and supple, you're done. It doesn't get better than that. So we saw that in 90 days. We also saw a decrease in inflammation, which I'm sure you've done a million shows about, what inflammation does at the systemic level in the blood. We saw an increase of collagen production. We saw an increase of irisin, depending on where you live, which is the exercise hormone and the longevity hormone. It's correlated with the telomeres, Mm-hmm. So it's just, for me, I look at fascia care and even my instruments or whatever tools or stretching or whatever you're doing for it, it's a daily thing. It's a brush your hair, brush your teeth, brush your fascia. And it really should be that way.
And it's not, sometimes it doesn't feel that great. I have your tool in my shower and I have the oil and like I have it's sensitive.
Right.
Does it, like, do you have to dig in deep or does it work? Can you model it like in layers?
So light.
Okay.
So what I would say, first of all, if you're sensitive, that actually means that there's a problem. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if somebody is really sensitive or bruises easily or bruises with the tool, that is telling you the story, because healthy tissue does not bruise and healthy tissue doesn't hurt. So no matter what, you could be doing Barnes technique, you could be doing anatomy trains on me, you could stab me with a drumstick or my own tools. It feels great. So it is that there is an issue. And so we just have to kind of get over that hump. There's definitely like sort of a restoration phase and a maintenance phase, but all the literature that I put out is that you shouldn't even be doing this to pain. It's not necessary. If you use the tools light and brisk with oil and you just go to whatever, I always say don't force follow. So if we just follow the tissue, little by little, layer by layer, I mean, what the data shows is 90 days.
Okay.
But the problem is people do it and they're like, ow.
I know.
I'll do it again in 2 weeks,
I tend to I'm an athlete, so I tend to I must, natural childbirth. I must if people can do it, I can do it,
Right. Pain and gain.
Yeah. But if that makes me feel better, I'm going to commit to the 90 days.
And we even back out, like we have one tool that is a brush. It's a silicone brush, because that's the other thing is if there's something going on in the lymphatic system, to get into the deeper layers, you have to go through that. So you can use the brushes to kind of clear the lymphatic system. In my new tool, I'm using red light with the brushes because it is all about letting the body do what it's going to do, And if we're fighting it, the quantum system is going, no, I don't want this. But yeah, athletes, women with cellulite, people on a mission, they get it and they go ham. Now, no matter how hard you go, it cannot injure you or damage you, but it's just not necessary.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. So no pain can actually lead to gain.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank God.
There's your message for this.
I've had too much pain in my life, emotional and otherwise, in recent years, so I can't self-inflict it right now. I want to talk about emotion because that's the crux of all of my work right now. I'm, really trying to reconnect or teach myself how to feel emotion because we've so been conditioned out of it and disconnected from ourselves and from our authentic expression.
Yes.
Boys don't cry, women, girls are good and well behaved, and we've just suppressed all of our natural instinctual emotion
100%.
expression, which then gets trapped in our fascia and our system. So I'll just explain and then you can go into it. Over the weekend, something happened. And I have this pathway here that you've worked on many times with a lot of pain, but real transformation before my eyes. My shoulder drops after you work on it, but it's deep stuff. So it's under my scapula on my right shoulder, around my shoulder, in my chest, up my neck, in the back of my base of my head, and it wraps around into my eyeball, into my jaw, into my ear. And it's just this devil vice. It feels like an entity. But so I was feeling it. So that arose on Friday. On Sunday, I was just Advil doesn't even
blinding
touch
headache.
It. Yeah. And so
that's the thing. Medicines don't do anything for fascia.
Yeah, it doesn't. Maybe placebo, it was helping a little bit, but it was still there. And I was like, oh, this is emotional and fascial. And so my girlfriend, Diane, shout out to Diane, she went to USM and she knows how to so she did some parts work and she put her hand on there and she was like, oh my God, it's burning up.
Wow.
And we named it, and the name that came up was
Diablo.
It was trying to communicate with shame and control. That's my body's way of gripping down because I'm judging myself and I'm trying to stay in control. So we went through that whole exercise, and it literally after 3 days released within a couple hours, immediately most of it, and then it was totally dissipated. And I was like, wow, it is so emotional. So all of that to say, my personal experience just having happened 2 days ago, talk to me about emotional trauma and fascia and the memory.
Well, I feel like all the issues are in the tissues, right? And not just traumas and memories, but I can just give you some examples. We've had things we had a woman who, she thought she was allergic to our oil when the FasciaBlaster came out, and she had kind of boils on her face. And so we were like, okay, stop using the oil, actually stop using the blaster. Let's just ride this out, drink a lot of water. 3 days later, she sends us pictures. She popped the boils and shards of glass came out. She had been in a car accident as a child, had no idea that she had this in her tissues. So that's a physical thing that can store in the tissues. I also on a real rudimentary level, fascia is the only thing that's sticky. Think about if you're messing with chicken. The meat is smooth. It's the fascia. So just from a real simple letter, things are literally getting stuck in there. Toxins, plastics, whatever the hell we're breathing,
Yeah.
Preservatives in the food, all of that stuff is being stuck in the tissue. But just think about it, like when something traumatic happens, there's definitely like that, what do we do? Like if I was going to punch you in the face, what?
Contract.
And so I believe that's what's happening with the fascia or scars or anything else, is that we just get that like
Gripping.
shrink wrapped gripping. Now, if we want to talk about ancestral or generational traumas that I believe, I don't have any proof of this, but I believe that they, come from the mother and father at the point of inception through the fascia. And then what we create, I think it's as simple as what we're understanding with water, because fascia is lined with liquid crystals, so it just depends on, that's my belief system. But I also study a lot of quantum physics and kind of alien stuff. And I think this is all part of like the theory of one. So you can either be real boring with it and be like emotions are sticking in the tissue, or we're gripping and it's sticking, or you can go all the way to the woo-woo side and go, okay.
Yeah. Water stores memory and frequency.
But I will tell you, I also teach people in this fascia training. So I have a lot of professionals, and it happens in our trainings, where people, it has to like leave the body. Therapists have like seen rapes, for instance, in their visuals. So we just have to understand that it's just like what Tesla was doing back in the day. Like, it's not about matter. It's about vibration and energy and frequency. And because fascia is primarily water and it's liquid crystal,
Yeah.
and it's electricity, right? We beat crystals together and they become piezoelectric. It's the energy system of the body. So what I would say is we don't know. We don't know. But what we do know is that when you can do practices, and there's all kinds of practices, my tools are a very tangible way, we can release that stuff.
True healing usually isn't a one-time fix, although spontaneous healing can happen, and it's awesome when it does. But true healing usually happens in the micro moments of choosing better, choosing things that enhance our mind, body, and spirit, rather than diminish or damage them. For me, one of those daily rituals is spending time on my Therasage PEMF red light mat. It just seems so simple, almost too easy. I just lie down or sit on it for 20 minutes. But what it does for my body is profound. The pulsed electromagnetic fields and gentle infrared heat help improve circulation, reduce inflammation, and bring me into such a deep state of calm. Some days I use it after a workout or a tennis match to help speed recovery. Other days, it's just part of my evening wind down and enhances my meditation. Either way, it's become a non-negotiable in my healing toolkit. And I love that Robbie, the founder, designs every product with such integrity. It's wellness that you can feel. If you'd like to add this ritual into your life, Therasage is offering our community 25% off with the code Kelly at checkout on therasage.com. That's KELLY, the code, at THERASAGE.com. So talk to me about Nexia. Now it's a fascia blasting tool that is motorized with red light.
Yeah.
We should be putting like sound frequency affirmations in there too.
Oh, honey, we should be doing our psychedelic breathing while we're doing it, while we bring in our, matriarchal ancestors. And no, I really do believe, like, when I think about my stuff is not the end all be all, right? It's heavily researched, and we know that it remodels tissue. Okay, great. That's a reason for everybody to use it. But it's biostacking, right? It's not one thing. So yes, we should be doing breath work. Yes, we should be doing frequencies. Yes, we should be floating and doing our,
cold plunges,
our saunas, our hyperbaric action, and then, community, all these
Joe
things.
Dispenza advanced meditation retreat.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We should. And I think that all the people are like, well, how does this affect fascia and whatever? And my answer is we don't really know yet, but it's got to be good.
Yeah. We're multi-dimensional beings, and we need all
That's
of
right.
it. Yeah.
And it's so cool because, I live in the woo-woo capital of the world, Costa Rica.
Pura vida.
Pura vida. And so we're all into longevity, and, plant medicines and even ceremonies without plant medicines is sort of a big deal down there, right? And it is about releasing traumas and becoming your authentic self. And this, by the way, is directly correlated to longevity, which now I'm super interested in. But we have shamans who are using my tools in ceremony, plant medicine ceremonies. And if you've never done it, I've only done it once, ayahuasca, and you do feel trapped energy. And so they chant. So there comes your vibration.
Yes.
And I can tell you when the chant comes, you're in this wonderful, peaceful place. And when they start chanting, it's like, oh God, here it comes. And it's like, and it gets in your body and it starts to shake things loose. And I remember he was using the, I don't know what they call it, but like the brooms. And no matter where he shook the broom on me, there was a place in my low back that I just kept feeling on this right side. And then so he kept going and kept going and kept going and put his hands on it and everything. And it ended up making me purge. So now the shaman, and he's legit, like from the Amazonian, he's using the FasciaBlaster tools when they feel that stuck energy. And he's like, Ashley, it's amazing. So what I would say is like, we don't really have all the answers, but it doesn't matter. We should be trying everything. Who wants to have a toxic vibration, which is all a memory or a trauma is in their body? Get it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes so much sense because I mean, you're like talking about peaceful state. I'm like, when I do ayahuasca, it is not a peaceful state. It is like, I mean, there's a lot of gripping that happens because you're moving so much and it's kind of out of body. And I've only done that a couple times. I've experienced a lot. I like you.
You're curious.
I'm curious, and I am called. I follow where I'm called. So that's so cool, though. I love when ancient wisdom can combine, and nature that's aligned with nature can combine with modern technology and invention.
And I really feel like it's so primordial, and it was just amazing because I have seen what fascia blasting does under ultrasound. I wish massage therapists and other modalities would look at it under ultrasound, because that to me is like the proof. You know what I'm saying? But we did it with our tools, and what we saw is that it went from kind of mangled to like being beautiful, right? Like it was so obviously healthier. And so it struck me, again, when I'm following that intuition and that curiosity, I get chills. So I know. And then there's also synchronicity. So I also live in the jungle where there are spiders everywhere, right? Yikes. So I'm looking at this beautiful cobweb, and I'm watching him do it. And he's doing it between the tree and my car. And I just stood there for a while, and I was like, wow, like he intuitively knows how to do that. So have you ever seen cobwebs where they give the spider like LSD or caffeine?
Oh, yeah. And they do different structures.
Yes. So that is what I think. I think that we are like the spider, and that we primordially grow our fascia beautiful and perfect. But then we eat McDonald's. Then we get in a shouting match. Then, and I think
tequila.
Exactly. What's wrong with tequila?
All these things that affect
right. And then I think we start growing it. And then it really struck me too. Like if you were to take a knife and you like cut a cobweb, they like stitch up around it, just like scars and everything else. And so when I saw my work under ultrasound, I was like, it's not the tools. The tools tells the body to do something, and then it starts doing it itself.
And as you're talking about, I'm thinking of a spider web. It's obviously very sticky. It's how it catches its nutrients. It's how it catches its... And so if our fascia is like a spider web, it's like how it's catching information and energy from the field. And
go, Kelly.
Also, like Masaru Emoto's work, where you're freezing water that was infused with a frequency and an intention. One bottle was told, hatred or played, death metal. And then the other bottle was labeled love or played Beatles music. Like when frozen under a microscope, that water structure either formed these beautiful, symmetrical, how nature designed crystals, or the opposite was fragmented and like really,
Well, Kelly, this
probably how
is
my fascia in my right shoulder looks.
exactly what is happening in our body. And I'll even take it a step up. So like, talking about being, lined in this liquid crystal, it is structured water, right? So imagine if someone's screaming at us, I hate you, or
Or
whatever.
we're telling ourselves in the
Or we're
mirror, we're like,
telling
God, I'm too
ourselves
fat,
that,
I'm
right.
dumb, I'm stupid.
I think it becomes a physical thing. So here's where it gets crazy. So we'll take it back into science world. Think about this. If I ask you, how do you get your nutrients to your cells? What do people say?
We eat.
Right? And then it goes into the blood and the blood gives it to the cells. Okay, well, there's trillions of cells and less than 1 billion capillaries. So how does that work? The blood spills into this massive sponge, fascia, it's uptaken, and then it's given to the cell. I would argue that mitochondria is floating in fascia, and it's literally just like rivers that flows all of this. So if our fascia is obstructed in whatever manner,
Yeah.
or an actual adhesion or a scar or whatever, the cell will die, period, the end, So this emotional piece is huge. And I can tell you, I went through so much shit with my own body when I first moved to Costa Rica, and I was not in a good emotional state. And that's when I really started doing inner work. And it was almost like 7 years to the day, because that's how long it takes for a body to fully regenerate, that it was like, oh, I got my body back. Yeah. And yes, I FasciaBlast. Yes, I sauna. Yes, I do stem cells. I do it all. I'm like weird like that. However,
you and everybody listening to the show,
yes,
we do
thank
it all.
God. We're among friends. But yeah, I feel like I'm sitting here at 53 and I'm honestly healthier than I've ever been. It's pretty crazy. Like I'm out there surfing on, 20-year-olds' necks.
Yeah. That's amazing.
But it is everything. And I just feel like we cannot remove fascia from the conversation. And the thing that just upsets me is that, like, when I read about fascia, like they do a beautiful explanation in the media. This is why I'm so in the media. And then at the end, they'll say, make sure to hydrate, take your electrolytes and stretch. And it's like, that's not how we impact fascia. It's much more than that. Like, number one, FasciaBlast. That's a direct way. We already know it works, right? Scientifically proven, peer-reviewed, published. Then we need to start looking at those emotions. We need to look at the people that we're hanging around. I've even had trouble. I've been on the road 48 days and I've been everywhere. But being in LA specifically, it's like I can feel the Wi-Fi or the energy or, and I was just sharing with you before I got here, like I need to find a place here that I can like fill my cup. And my way of doing that is going to my women's circle and doing yoni massage and like going to ecstatic dance or whatever. So, I think it's that important, and we try to live this modern life where we like work ourselves to death. We're, not in a good emotional state with that. We're hurried. Maybe we keep our family around us when we shouldn't, and we have these negative vibrations because I really do feel that is exactly like the work with the water. And it's permeating our body through the fascia.
I mean, I feel the same way. I came from nature yesterday and then landed in LA and I'm like, but I've done so much work and I'm so much more sensitive. We all feel it, but you and I are just aware of it more because we've opened more channels or whatever. Yep. But everybody is feeling it physically and emotionally and just exhausted or disease comes up. And so we do need to do every layer of it. So like, as you're talking, I'm going, okay, so we need to physically manipulate because in our 40s and our 30s and with injury or whatever, all these micro injuries we're giving to ourselves with our thoughts and beliefs and then things that we're getting from society, news, like these are like micro.
Or even a imbalance.
Yeah.
Look at how many people walk with something rotated or twisted or whatever. That's more of a physical aspect of it. But all of that stuff affects the fascia as a whole.
Preservatives, processed foods,
everything.
Certain medications, that's going to disrupt this quantum sacred geometry of this structure that we are in.
That's right,
And then it just goes up. So it's like we need the physical manipulation of the remodeling the fascia. That's going to free up and start to move emotions that are trapped because now it's getting fluid and hydrated again.
That's right.
So then we need to do the emotional work. Then we need to get out of these tense frequencies of maybe concrete jungles and into nature to start to recalibrate to our natural rhythms, right? It's like
That's
we
right.
need to do all of these things and I believe that it just needs to be in what we can manage. Like not all of us have the liberty to like go out into nature for 3 months or move to Costa Rica or whatever. But if we're just aware of this and start to pay attention and do all those layers, like so much miraculous things can happen. And we turn
Miraculous.
back that biological clock.
Mhm. I think, it's just like anything in life. If we want to make a change, the first step is awareness, and then awareness becomes, okay, what can I do to start this? And then you take that first step. Like where I'm at now and the things that I do for my health, like I was nowhere near that 15 years ago, but it doesn't have to be over the top. You don't have to move out of New York City. You could just simply turn your phone off, maybe, get some crystals that can clear that energy. Like get a bunch of houseplants, talk to them, touch them, open the window and look into the sunlight first thing in the morning. Like these things, I really do believe, I've done some work with this amazing group in Costa Rica called Whole Human. And we always are having the conversations like we just need to get back to doing it the way we used to. I'll give you the best example. So I live literally in the middle of nowhere. So it's about 20 minutes to the closest town. And I drive right through the middle of the blue zone, where people, okay. So I'm headed to the one nail salon. I'm going to get my nails done. I drive, I look over and I see these families. They're just kind of outside sitting on the porch. Nobody has a phone. They don't have windows on their, windows. They don't have glass. Kids are running around, chickens and everything, and I see this old woman sweeping the porch. And by the way, this is what I see all the time. The road is here, they're here, the ocean's here, right? So I drive. I'm gone a good 3 hours. And I come back, they are doing the same thing, And I was just like, that's it.
And this is the blue zone. They live the longest. They're just out there chilling.
Disease-free.
Yeah.
Disease-free.
Yeah.
And
basically impoverished.
Yeah. I just had that moment like, wow, we just need to leave it alone. We just need to leave life alone and quit complicating. Like they weren't rushing to a meeting. They didn't have a Zoom.
Yeah. Probably way happier than we are.
Just calm, and then the piece about longevity that I think is so interesting, if you study the work of Dan Buettner, it's like people in all these blue zones, they spend, your audience is going to be like, what? 6 hours a day socializing.
Oh.
So there's a bunch of new studies that are about, how we're all into our epigenetics, right? Like how do these genes express? But our genes express different in a community. It's sociogenetics, and so that's something that like I was kind of forced to do. I had a breakup with my boyfriend of 6 years and we were kind of cuddled up in our little bubble. And then when that happened, I just immediately had this craving for community. And, we dedicated an ecstatic dance to one of my really close friends, Lauren, who had cancer. And we were all dancing and crying together. And at the end, we lifted her up and sang to her. And I was like, this is it. This is how we're supposed to heal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I definitely went through a whole period of like, I don't want to know my neighbor. Shut the blinds. Don't but we really do. We need community and we need a raise in consciousness and having more people that have had that raise in consciousness being together. It's very powerful.
It's so powerful. And I believe it's like this, it's two parts. It's reconnecting to ourselves, our intuition, our truth, and our authentic, like full expression of who we, as a divine expression, a little God ray comes into this world, into this illusion of separation, and know that we have everything we need within us. And also we need community as mirrors reflecting back. And then like together, that remembrance that we are all one, that we come from the same source and we are these little God rays that seem separate, but like you trace us all the way back to source, like you did when you had your near-death experience. We just go back into this big love juice, of intelligence.
I love that. Love juice.
And so this human experience is like remembering that innate divinity and all the gifts that we have in that guides us back to that truth. And then being a community to like shake up some shit that we're not accepting about ourselves, and then healing. And
it must be a synchronicity. I got like a chill down the back of my head when you said that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So
no, I do feel like, how people say, this is human nature. And I'm like, I still believe that humans are good in every way. And I try to look back like through history. That's like one of the things when did we jump off the Sumerian text? Like when did we not practice, detachment and, feeling connected? Like when did we stop doing the red tent, And it's so beautiful though, because at least in Costa Rica, and I feel it like even in cities, it's starting to happen that people they're at least understanding that we need to go back to some of that.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think that it's nature is self-correcting and regenerative. So whatever is coming out, social media, all these things that like are an illusion of connection and seemingly stirring up, like there's just going to be an equal and opposite correction at some point, and we're all going to be sitting on our porches for 6 hours with no windows and kicking soccer balls with bare feet.
Right.
In Costa Rica, pretty soon, and growing our own food, and like going back to that simplicity and connection with nature.
I love that idea of correction. It's so funny. So where I live, it's 100 acres and it is like thick jungle. And I remember when I bought the house, the guy who sold it to me was like, when I bought the house, all of this was a cattle farm. So I'm like picturing what that would look like. And I was like, oh, did you reforest it? And he's like, no, I just left it alone. And it's like that tree knows how to, get the sun from the right place. And then this bird knows how to poop over here and whatever. And like, it's all working together. It's just like, we need to stop,
connection.
We need to stop intervening with that connection.
Yeah. And to turn ourselves fully on is like remodel that fascia, girl.
I mean, when you said what did you call it? Liquid love juice or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that is to the cells what the fascia is. It's like the love juice that they're soaking in, right?
Yeah.
And if the fascia is healthy, the cell is healthy. And this is things we can see under a microscope.
And then our antenna to divine guidance is healthy.
I really, really believe that, I don't know how we could measure that, but I wholeheartedly believe that the fascia is the antenna for the body. And actually, that's why I spend more time on my fascia now. It used to be aesthetics or like my knee hurt or whatever. I've healed all of that. So for me, it's more like I want to fire up these piezoelectrics. It's almost like turning on the body, like, okay, give it to me.
Now I just had another hit. So we're going to talk woo-woo people. We only have like a few minutes left. But you were comparing 3 images, one of the fascial network, one of the quantum field web, and one of the mycelium network underneath the ground. So we're living on planet Earth. The mycelium network is running underneath the surface of the soil, connecting all living things, and communicating through energy and nutrients and intelligence. And then, so I'm just like, okay, so, and then we're walking and it's almost like all of those webs are connecting in different...
I literally believe it's energetic strings.
So the energetic strings are going through...
So we know so much about grounding. I mean, I saw your podcast on grounding and I ended up getting the grounding flip-flops and all that kind of stuff. But like, what's the mechanism? Is it that our bare feet with our fascia that, I also would think that our fascia is a little bit outside of our body energetically, right?
Yeah.
So imagine almost like Avatar, right? That when we step on the earth, that our fascia plugs in to that mycelium network, that it's not just about energy,
Yeah, there's like this invisible bridge that's happening.
And fascia is the only energetic system of the body.
Yeah.
There's no piezoelectric...
But then again, like quantum goes through the field because it's the same superhighways, but they're invisible to our eye.
That's
but it's the same structures.
Same structure. It looks the same when you use the, whatever vision, X-ray vision, or it's not X-ray. I forget what you use to
yeah.
see it. But yeah, they look the same. Energetically, I think they're same. I wrote this blog. It's called What is Fascia For? And because I had been like, what is fascia?
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, it's more than that. And then I kept writing. And what I say is like, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a fucking duck.
Yeah. I love it. It looks like a web.
Yeah. And but for me, I think that, I've always felt like I was a little ahead of my time, or at least at the cutting edge. And it's like, in order to accept all of this, we have to, number one, to accept quantum physics. Like, we just got to accept it. And then we have to go, you know what? The Krebs cycle was not totally accurate, and neither is what we believe about powering the body, mitochondria, and whatever. And so it's just such
What does that mean? Dive real quick deeper into the Krebs cycle.
So, what you'll read, again, going back to like what is, fascia called. So microtubules and microfibules, right? So we see the cell, and then we see all this little stuff coming off of it. I'm like, it's a duck.
Yeah.
Right? It's the cell with the fascia.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the Krebs cycle is all about, how the RNA and whatnot travels from the inside of the cell out to it's cell to fascia, and fascia to the next cell communication.
Got it.
And what I'm saying is stop calling it microtubules and fibules, and also stop separating it as if that little thing in and out of the cell is not part. It's like, to me, like a estuary in the ocean. Like, it's the same thing. It's all part of one big quantum thing.
Right.
And it begs to, can we work on your shoulder and it changes the hand? We don't know. No one's done this research, but I think it's just so important. Everybody's so about like what we can do for mitochondrial health, but it's like, if the fascia that's surrounding the mitochondria is not healthy because of what's outside of the cell and outside of that cell and outside of that cell, then it doesn't matter what the mitochondria is doing.
And then, just to follow this thread, it's like you always say kids are close to the other side of the veil. And if you take a healthy kid that's not been, that's just still pristine and in their natural state, like, they have these knowings and connections, right? And then over time, with these micro violences and abuses are their environment and their beliefs and their self-talk and all, and the toxins of their food and everything else, that communication system gets shut down, less conscious, and boom. And then, like, as we're remodeling our fascia, like, and the more work I'm doing, but now I'm really committed to remodeling the fascia because now I see the connection. I will wake up. Even this weekend, like, woke up in kind of that dream sleep state, did a manifestation meditation. I thought of two people that were going to be aligned that I wanted to have a conversation with. And then I thought of one other person and his film project, and went downstairs in my hotel coffee. Those two people were sitting in the coffee shop. And then I opened my Instagram, and one of my 10 messages was from the guy that I thought of about his project. And we talk like every couple months. And I was like, oh, my abilities, my channel is getting, and we've all had that experience where we think of someone and then they text us, we open our phone, there's a text from them. So it's all connected, and we just have to keep our channel open, because that's how brilliant this body is designed, and how this earth is designed, and how the cosmos are designed. It's wild.
It's so fascinating. And I'll tell you one quick thing, and it's probably going to make me sound crazy, but I don't care. I want to document it. So I do get downloads same way you do. It's like it just comes to you in a vision, or you get a little chill down your spine or whatever. And when you really learn to tune into that, literally every day is like a miracle.
Yes.
It's so crazy. And so for 32 days straight, this was about 3 years ago, I woke up in the middle of the night, full body chills, and I would have numbers or equations or some weird thought like K3, or one time I woke up and I was like, why am I thinking about Moffat's motifs? I don't even know what a Moffat motif is. So instead of fighting it, I would get up and I would start researching it. And it ended up being like that scene in The Accountant where he's like, right? And so I just started connecting all of the dots, and it was definitely a download. And so all of it was more, I was finding some of it in the human body. There's a whole blog about the whole Krebs cycle side of it, but I just kept running across this stuff that was more ancient and sacred. And I swear that you cannot make this up. I was told in the dream to watch Are We in a Simulation, which is not something that, I'm not thinking all this is like coming from a computer, you know, so I don't like that thought. I'm like, no, it's coming from God.
Resistance,
I had resistance to it. So I end up watching this. It's very boring and very deep, lots of pausing. It's very like over my head. But I was like, oh my God, this guy, Clee Irwin, who lives up in Malibu, eccentric billionaire who wants to find the theory of one, everything that I had been working on for like 17 days or something like that. I was like, okay, it's the quantum physicists that are going to give me the answers. How can you make this up? I have a massage therapist here named Richard who's worked on me for years. And he calls me and he's like, hey, I work with this client. He's super cool. He's really interested in fascia. And I just told him, like, you're, the guru. And I was like, oh, cool. He's like, when are you coming out here again? And I was like, oddly enough, I'm coming in about a week. And he's like, yeah, his name's Clee Irwin, the one that made that documentary. And that is how it works. Do we understand it? No. Is it there? Is it real? Yes. But people who live like we do, you do almost seem like a magician, because it's almost like you can think something up and then the quantum field adjusts and it puts everything like right in your path.
Yeah. That's why it's worth doing the work, because these little, it opens you up and then you start to go, oh shit, like I have the power to kind of co-create. And then you also, like, at the same time, simultaneously surrender, because you're like, there is an intelligence operating here and connecting and orchestrating that is so far beyond our comprehension.
Right. I'm afloat.
Just float and like go see this guy and like know that like you were meant to watch that or that film so that you answered the call when Richard tells you about this guy. And like, that's how I am in this process of creation. And it's not like I'm just floating down the river with a cocktail. It's not always
you have
fun.
You have consciously follow something where you're like, what am I doing here?
And I like struggled this weekend emotionally. I woke up this morning like a live wire, but also I'm not getting swept away in it. I'm going, okay, something's going on here. I'm getting broken open to like prepare for this next thing. It's making me. So all of that to say, I freaking love talking to you. I love the work you're doing. And you know what? It's going to be woo-woo for some, but I'm telling you, the science, the real science is like backing the woo. And it's weaving this ability for modern technology to support these ancient technologies and wisdoms in alignment with nature that's been around for millions of years, So it's just so cool to see unfold. If you get caught up in the drama of this like duality and politics and toxins and all that shit, it sucks. So like, these are the conversations I want to play in. You know?
I feel like we're both manifesting people who are like on the fringe that want to come over, and baby step into this freak world. But I will tell you that at the end of the day, the purpose of life is to live, right? And we can't live to our fullest expression. We can't discover who we are authentically. And ultimately, we cannot be happy, walking around in stank. So if I had one message for every person out there, it's to take the first step, start to do the work, start to, slough off those things that don't matter. And it doesn't even matter whether fascia is consciousness or not. Just do it. My yoga instructor, who's such a witch, she's like, don't think, just do. That is the message.
And follow the energy. Follow what lights you up. Follow what pulls you. Follow what sparks your curiosity. Follow what gives you that like enthusiasm, enthusiasm. That is never going to lead you astray, because we are connected to the field, to our fascia and mycelium network. Where can people find you and this new product that you're coming out with next year?
I think the easiest thing to spell is just The Real Ashley Black. That's my website. That's my Instagram. And from there, you'll
see all the things.
See all the things, all the information. We also have an app that's just called the Fascia app. It's super easy to navigate. You can find people that do the work professionally. You can buy the tools. You can read the blogs. That's an easy way as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming and hanging.
Of course. It was amazing. Thank you so much for having me.